At 3 a.m. one night, I had this very strange dream that felt extremely real. The dream starts as I'm lying in bed on my left side with one eye open. I can barely move, somewhat paralyzed. I feel numb. I'm trying to crawl and take many movements just to see where I am. I look around the room with the one eye I can use. I can see a white wooden door that is cracked open, surrounded by blue walls. It's still hard to move, but I try to see what's going on around me. I can see water bursting up from the rock floor of the room. For some odd reason, I know it's cold water. I become scared, frightened. My mother yells out to me from beyond the room to not move. She tells me, "They can get you out in 4 minutes." After I hear her speak those words, I wake up from the dream, perplexed. Committed to finishing and finding answers, I close my eyes to see myself back in that same room. Still in a paralyzed state, with the use of one eye, I hear my name being called out again. This time, instead of the dream, someone in my house is calling my name, waking me. I shoot my body up and look around the room, but of course I'm in reality now. I believe it was a woman's voice, but who was it this time? I strongly believe I had this dream because I obtained knowledge the night before about family members who were involved in one of the devastating landslides that occurred in Amalfi, Italy. I'll be using fake names for my friends that were in the dream. There were 3 cars at the gas station parking lot. I was riding with Frank. My other friend Jen was driving her car. The third we did not know. We were at the gas station because Jen worked there. A zombie outbreak started to happen and people were turning into mutated zombies. We were all about to leave because a horde of mutated zombies were stampeding towards us. For some reason, I told them we should stay to have a little fun. Everyone listened and got out of their cars. My plan was once the mutated zombies got closer, we would all rush back into the cars. It didn't go as planned. Jen ran back into the gas station while Frank and I followed behind. Frank and I watched through the gas station windows while the person in the third car started to transform. He was covered in blood and shuffling slowly out of his car. Frank and I turned around to check on Jen. To our horror, she was already full-out zombie. We both ran out of the gas station back to Frank's car. The zombies were on the right side of the car, so we ran around them to go on the driver's side. Suddenly, they all stopped and stared at us. We finally get to the driver's side when Frank takes out his keys and drops them. He then bolts, jumping on trash cans to jump over a stone wall. He left me behind with Jen, who is now a full-blown mutated zombie. The weird thing was I didn't notice Frank left until I heard him jump on the trash cans. A zombie started to chase me, and I followed Frank over the stone wall. We ended up going separate ways. After running for a while, all I hear is Frank screaming in pain, and then I woke up. I'm changing the names of my friends. Jeff, I, and Jeff's girlfriend Kay are in the dream. We were going on a weekend camping trip, trudging deep through a heavily wooded area where the trail is barely visible. We were having a good time, conversing and joking around, while we waited in excitement for the weekend adventure that awaited us. There wasn't much sunlight left because we departed later than we wanted to. By the time we hit the campsite, darkness swallowed us up. We set our tents up for the coming night. After gathering some wood, processing it, and making a fire, we sat around the campfire with beers in hand and steaks ready to be cooked. After a couple of hours of merrymaking, we headed to our tents to sleep. The howling wind of cold gusts gingerly swayed the tree tips that dimly covered the half-lit moon. The airy thing was, besides the wind, there was no noise. I woke from a night terror sweat, breathing heavily in a terrifying state of mind. I waited in terror for the next noise, but what I heard was not what I was expecting. I kept hearing crackling in the distance. And then another, but much closer this time. Too close for comfort. I called out to Jeff in a frightened voice. "Yeah," Jeff whispered. I yelled out, "You hear that?" "What the fuck was that?" Jeff said. When the last of his words left his mouth, they both heard a demonic voice call out in a language not privy to them. After a long, dreadful silence, I called out to Jeff. "I'm leaving my tent. We need to protect ourselves." Jeff replied, "Okay." I frantically unzippered my tent with a knife with a flashlight in hand. To my horror, the voice I heard was of the creature imitating Jeff's voice, because Jeff was hanging upside down by the arm of this monster, while Jeff's girlfriend Kate's upper torso was half out of the tent with her arms laid out. The hideous monster was the only way I could describe what I was staring at. Long, and lanky, with long arms and long legs with lean muscles. Its hair was sporadically around its body with a broken face and mouth. The skin was smooth and slimy. It had long, dirty hair. I ran the opposite way as fast as I could. I could hear the breaking and falling of trees behind me, getting closer and closer. I instinctually felt multiple arms trying to grab me from behind. I tripped over a log, dropping the camera while being quickly dragged away. The camera catches me in a half-dead state while blood covered my face. The camera eventually dies after a long night of recording. I'll be using a different name for my friend. Before I go into the dream, here is a short backstory. Marvin was like a brother to me. One day after my birthday, about 8 years ago, he upped and left without a word. I haven't seen him since. I don't remember how it started, but Marvin and I were both in a large building. The hallways were wide in length. It reminded me of being inside of a school hallway. The lights were dimmed and it had an isolated atmosphere. He was walking towards me with a straight face. I met him halfway. I spoke first. "Where the hell are you going?" He said something that I cannot recall now. After his reply, he started to walk away. I angrily said, "Wait, I'll come with you." He then turns around and says, "You can't come with me," and walked away. This enormous sadness poured over me while I watched him walk away. I woke up feeling depressed. After having this dream, I knew this was the last time I would ever see him. This was a final goodbye. The nightmare started when I entered this large industrial building that was abandoned for years. There were piles of bricks, rotten wood, debris, and broken glass everywhere. It was flooded with water up to my ankles. The walls were destroyed, falling apart. Huge openings that you could fully walk through without hitting your head. The only light source was the sun going through the windows. I remember this well because it would hit the water and shine in my eyes. While I was exploring the place, an old woman wearing a dirty dress appeared in front of me out of nowhere. She was very dirty and nasty looking. I had a gut feeling of dread when she stared me down. Then in this strange, blurry out of focus way, she ran at me. I defended myself by throwing her down and punching her face until she stopped moving. Then I suddenly woke up feeling strange. What's so creepy about this dream is that my girlfriend at the time also had a nightmare that same night of an old woman in a strange building. She encountered this old dirty woman, and when this woman attacked her, she took out a gun and shot her dead. I was standing in a dimly lit parking lot at night. It had metal fences all around, which included parts of the inside. It had both yellow and white lines on the ground. On one side of the parking lot, there was a bunker that started above ground but then ended deep within the earth. I was walking around, getting closer to the bunker door when it opened. These legless and long-armed creatures started to run at me on their long arms. I tried to turn around to run. When I went to take one of them off me, the dream faded into darkness. A spotlight pointed in the center of the pitch black. I then saw my penis, which was enlarged like a pitcher. It had a metal door with bolts on the side of it. It eventually opened up and I saw millions of tiny newborn alien-like babies starting to fall out of the metal door. I woke up confused.